All right, folks, we are back live for our final championship race of the weekend. This is Group E, PTB, Performance Touring B through F, Spec E46, Spec Z, and GTS3 and GTS4. Unfortunately, our weather conditions keep degrading here at Buttonwillow Raceway Park. We are getting big gusts of wind. I'd estimate them to be 30 miles an hour or better. Some of our cameras are achieving liftoff, and there's our grapevine camera. We can cut to that really quick. You can see it's nothing but blue skies. And now it's back down. So we are seeing some significant wind here as our performance touring and the other folks take the track here. Right now they're in Star Mazda. Probably will have multiple waves again with these because we will. And our grapevine camera, sorry to report, there it is, folks. It's in the weeds. So challenging weather conditions, but we're going to finish it out strong. This reminds me of the Mid-Ohio Championship race we had, where we had the remnants of Hurricane Ivan blow through and cleaned off all the tents that were on the surface. Every single porta potty and all the safe fencing from the motorcycles went airborne, and it was a heck of a deal. But that grapevine camera, that still makes me feel very peaceful. Just a very nice bucolic view. Sorry we lost that, folks, because that was a really great camera angle to see the passes, but not much we can do about when Mother Nature gets angry with us. We can actually feel the tower moving around a little bit. It's how strong it is. So Mother Nature unleashing her wrath. Now we're giving the rundown. Jeff, go ahead.
Okay, John. Let's see. In GTS3, we got Eric Johnson out front. Team Blue Dragon SLR Performance in second. Eddie Hillard third, and Andrew Morton starting fourth. GTS4, Maury Gentile and Sean Neal. PTB, Austin Newmark and Dave Shotson. Look at that, Austin Newmark starting from the pole. That
Right.
should be a battle. Anthony Lanza behind him, Ricky Johnson in fourth, and John DeGucci in fifth. Joshua Allen in PTC leading the way. Team Greenbaum second up. And in PTD, we've got Charlie Hayes, Charlie Bazzetti, JD Coos, Dennis Holloway, Lee Papa George, and Fulton Haight.
PTE, Dan Howard in the first position with Roman Weissman alongside him. Then Ryan Althoff in the other Saturn. Thomas Atterbury, Team KTM Racing. Mark Hasbun. Then Stephen McHenry, Paul Seaforth, John Bowles, and Justin Ross. PTE, Eli Villa, followed by Gary Joseph. Spec E46, Team BTM Motorworks out front. That will actually be our first wave, I believe. Sean Webster, Team Riley Racing. Team Control Engineering, then Spec Z, Tom Kaminsky. Chad Alders, Paul Terry, and Richard Fitzgerald. So a little bit of drama. We had Dave Schatz drop out yesterday, and it turns out he had just busted his drive shaft. He had a really cool carbon fiber drive shaft in there, broke it, put in a more stockish aluminum one. So that's good news for Dave Schatz. He's back at it. And he actually told us he's been driving that car now for 10 seasons, and the motor has 9 seasons on it. So
That's right. He said he started racing the car in 2006, and
2006.
I said, how long have you had this motor in there? And he said, since 2007, and it was in another car before.
And it's just a bone stock LS motor, the venerable Chevrolet small block. He says he shifts it at 5,500 if he's really in a hurry. So those low RPMs keeping that very stout V8 block together. First wave, Spec E46 coming around. Looks like we have Spec Z just behind them. Spec E46 now, they are away. Nicely done. Here comes Spec Z, they are away. Next couple of waves, I believe, will be our GTS cars. And then our performance touring cars coming shortly thereafter.
Yeah, lots of stories from this group in general, John, from several different classes in this group. You know, a lot of fast drivers having mechanical problems and ending up near the back of the pack. You know, one was one we spoke with the other night, Richard Fitzgerald in the Spec Z class, got an engine change done, finished it all off, went out for his qualifying yesterday, and then was out of the race.
Looked like he had a banged up rim or something. A little bit of contact took him out yesterday. Here comes your performance touring field. Dave Schatz out with, that's Schatz and Newmark right there. They're slowing way down. Are they going to do a standard? No. Nope, flying start. Oh, geez. Dave, I don't see Newmark anywhere.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a Lotus on the front there.
That was Tony
no,
Lanza.
No Newmark. Where is Austin Newmark? I saw the car earlier today. Not sure what's going on there with Austin Newmark. Had a lot of potential to win that.
Boy, that's something.
Looks like our
something.
cadet squad car, pace car has pitted now. The lights are out there. We're going to be looking for our next start, and boy, they're going to have to get it done quickly because Spec E46 is coming through the grapevine corner now.
So it looks like we may have had a little too much going on. An early green, good call by the starter there and the race director. So PT, it looks like C through F now away.
And look at that, Justin Ross in the Miata drag
probably
racing with that Volkswagen as they go down the front straight there. Justin Ross, that's another example, just like Fitzgerald, where, a fast driver. He was actually the pole sitter going in there on Friday and ended up now starting almost from the back. In fact, in PTE, starting from the back. So Justin Ross, a really tough weekend in his Miata so far, but a great weekend in his Spec E30. He actually won the Spec E30 championship earlier today. So now he's going to be fighting hard out there to win this one too.
Conditions continuing to degrade a little bit here. Not good news at all. But it looks like Dave Schatz is charging out there. He's got Ricky Johnson chasing him down.
No, you couldn't see it out there, folks, but just this last time by car number 99 in the Spec Z class, that'd be Chad Alders, went off in the grapevine corner and put him back in last place. Wow, and look at this, John. It looks like a lot of cars off track over there in Grapevine.
I don't think it's off track.
Yeah, it's almost hard to tell. There's so much dust in the air. It really depends on whether there's a rooster tail behind him or not. And look at that, a spin.
A big spin
in a Star Mazda. And you know what? That is the same guy again. That would be Chad Alders in the number 99 Spec Z. So maybe he's trying a little bit too hard to catch up, or a broken part, like you said, yeah.
Hard to say. Watching right now, Ricky Johnson is closing up on Dave Schatz big time.
That was another one we saw Ricky Johnson fall off early yesterday. Went out, I believe, with a mechanical issue. I can't remember exactly now, but that prevented him from battling it out with Dave Schatz. But it's nice to see that he's out there now in fighting form. Maybe give Dave Schatz a run for his money.
Very well could be. Looks like the GTS cars starting to mix into the PT cars a little bit. So gave them all separate starts, but they're starting to mix it up now as there are some different lap times going on. I think that dust we're seeing is just from the wind.
It very well might be, John. It's so hard to tell at this point, and there's so much of it.
Yeah, and the grapevine camera is actually tumbling now. So there is a ton of wind out there in challenging conditions, but it all seems to be clearing off of the track. So that's good news.
Just feel bad for the truckers on I-5 now who are eating all of this dust.
Very true, very true. Blowing across there. Again, not so much because of the racing, just because there's no vegetation to hold it down. So working lap 2 now, I believe. Again, it's a 45-minute race. We're about 5 minutes into it. Currently seeing solid winds of about 19 miles an hour with gusts of 22 miles an hour. So those are some pretty serious winds, particularly when you're driving fast in a car with aerodynamic parts on it. That can be something. So we will be watching. Let's see where. There's Dave Schatz and Ricky Johnson coming around in PTB again. Schatz putting a little bit of distance, but again, this might be Dave being clever. He knows Ricky is there, but Ricky is way down on horsepower. But their lap times are pretty consistent. Dave's best is a 1:59.252. Ricky's at a 2-minute 3:67. So the two of them are doing pretty darn well. GTS3 leaders across just now. Andrew Morton in front of Eric Johnson. There goes Zung Tran in third place in GTS3 with Eddie Hillard right behind him. Looks like Charlie Hayes and Charlie Bazzetti again fighting it out in PTD. PTE, Dan Howard and Roman Weisman also right there. Dan is about 2 seconds ahead of Roman right now. John Bowles in the third position there in PTE. Roman just across the line. Boy, oh yeah, now Dan is starting to pull it out. Last time by, Dan was 4 seconds ahead of Roman Weisman.
Yeah, and John, John Bull's another one that, another guy who's fast out there and has had some issues throughout the weekend, causing him to have a relatively bad start. In yesterday's qualifying race, we saw Jean and Justin Ross moving rapidly up through the pack. This time, looks like they're doing it again. Justin Ross up into 4th place, Jean Bull's into 3rd, so they're rapidly hunting down Roman Weisman. Now, in terms of Dan Howard, I don't know if anybody's got anything for him.
Waving yellow now at start finish, so it looks like we may have something going on in turn 1. Looks like a car may have gone off just after turn 1. We can't see it from our vantage point here, but we can see a big dust cloud, also known as a haboob, moving across the paddock right there in between 1 and 2. So we are experiencing some challenging weather conditions, but they are still going for it. Maximum attack. Good stuff here, and we are now about 7 minutes into our 45-minute race. We'll give you a quick rundown of the order. GTS3, Andrew Morton, then Eric Johnson, Zung Tran in that Team Blue Dragon SLR Performance BMW, then Eddie Hillard. Maury Gentile all alone in GTS4, then PTB Dave Schatz, Ricky Johnson, Anthony Lanza, and John DeGucci, then PTC Josh Allen, followed by Team Greenbaum and Timothy Carmen.
In PTD, Charlie Hayes leading the way right now. Charlie Bazzetti behind him in 2nd place. J.D. Coos in 3rd. Dennis Holloway, Fulton Haight, and Lee Papa George rounding out the PTD field. In PTE, Dan Howard leading. Roman Weisman in 2nd. John Bowles 3rd. Justin Ross in 4th. Ryan Altaw 5th. Followed by Thomas Atterbury, Paul Perkins, Team KTM Racing, and Paul Seifert. In PTF, we got Eli Villa, followed by Gary Joseph. Spec E46 being led by Team BTM Motorworks, I believe that's a Shawhan car. Team Riley Racing, Sean Webster, and Team Control Engineering. In Spec Z, Tom Kaminsky leading, followed by Paul Terry, Richard Fitzgerald in 3rd, and Chad Alders in 4th place.
Just saw Roman Weisman across the line, 2nd currently in PTE. Roman now has fallen about 7 seconds back of Dan Howard. John Bowles still right there, hanging tough in his 1st-gen RX-7. Now again, remember, if you win a championship in a Mazda, that also, even if it's in performance touring, any class where you win in a Mazda at this level, you are going to be getting an invitation to that shootout. So you'll notice a lot of double dipping going on where there are Spec Miatas that are also running in performance touring E, gives them an equal chance for that championship and an invitation to the big shootout that Mazda holds each year.
That's right, John, and I think there's a minimum for the number of cars in the class, but hey, PTE is a healthy class,
Huge.
Certainly meets that minimum, so Jean Bowles, if he wins this, could be looking at a ride towards that Team Mazda.
No doubt, lots of racing still happening throughout the field. Weather conditions, if I'm not mistaken, are kind of improving a little bit. A lot less dust than we were seeing before. Hopefully that's good news. Looks like a little bit of a challenge there. Fulton Haight getting challenged into the grapevine corner. We'd love to show it to you, but unfortunately, the grapevine corner got blown away by this big wind that has come up here at Buttonwillow Raceway Park.
And check this out, John. In PTB, Dave Schatz, the whole shots out there with turning in 1:58.933. That's our fast time of the session. But if you look at their current times, Dave Schatz and Ricky Johnson are actually not very far apart, about 2/10. 1:59.7 for Schatz and 1:59.9 for Ricky Johnson. Only difference is 1:59.9 is Ricky Johnson's best lap. So let's see if he can pull anything out. He's only 3 seconds behind, which might seem like he's like a lot, and he's out of striking distance. But let me tell you, with the gaps we've seen Dave Schatz pull so far this weekend, that's really nothing.
Very true, and we could have a double yellow situation come up at any time and erode that gap. Now, hey, I forgot something important. Right now, Dan Howard's in a Mazda. So if he wins in that Mazda in PTE, he is going to get an invite to the big show that Dean Case from Mazda was telling us about earlier. So Dan Howard hoping not to lose that front position to Roman Weisman, but he is about 8, almost 9 seconds ahead of Weisman last time through. So Dan Howard on his horse. His fastest time in that class at 2:04.867. Looks like next fastest would be Justin Ross, who has a 2:06.167. So Dan Howard really moving it out there. Spec Z field just through a minute ago. Looking at their running orders, Spec Z is still Tom Kaminsky, Paul Terry, Richard Fitzgerald, and Chad Alders. PTF just cleared. Eli Villa still out in front of Gary Joseph. Field is starting to spread out. There goes Schatz just now. Ricky Johnson still very much in contact with Schatz and has a fighting chance there.
In fact, Johnson has decreased his gap now to 2.5 seconds, so I mean, not a whole lot, but you know, he is catching up to it.
True, but you look at this. Look at Dave Schatz's best lap time just now. 1:58.933 to Johnson's 1:59.528. So I think Dave is being clever. So he's with, you know, he has a potential this weekend to be a 15-time NASA National Championship. So I think Dave is just watching Ricky, looking out his front windscreen, and then just dialing the rheostat back and forth to make sure he doesn't blow anything up, but also at the same time, he's still able to get that championship race done. Charlie Hayes across the line just now in that super trick Miata of his, another Mazda. So Charlie can earn an invitation to the big show. He's increased his lead in front of Charlie Bazzetti now to 9.6 seconds. So Charlie Hayes driving away. Again, that's a beautiful car if you take a look at it. Very far from stock, but fitting within those performance touring rules just fine. And Charlie Hayes putting on a great drive right now. Again, also trying to get an invitation to that big Mazda shootout that will happen later on this year.
And what you were saying about Schatz is absolutely right, John. I mean, with that many years of experience and that many championships under his belt, you know he's got some tactics.
So, of course, that Charlie Hayes Miata is the Toyo Tires Miata. It's running on Toyo tires, so that's an important facet of the operation of that car. Toyo, our #1 choice there. So Charlie Hayes getting some love both from Mazda and from Toyo. If he can continue this stellar performance that he is putting on right now in PTD. Right now, 13 minutes elapsed out of 45 minutes, so about 30 minutes remaining. Schatz starting to work through lap traffic. Just went around Eli Villa there on the front straight. You can see on the monitor. Ricky Johnson now has to get by Villa to get back in touch with Dave Schatz. Looks like it happened. Villa rolled over right there and let him by. Very different cars, a rear-wheel drive, big American Firebird, and a little Mini, which is effectively a BMW with front-wheel drive, and I believe a supercharger. So it looks like the winds are calming a bit. Of course, I don't want to not knock on wood in it before I say that, but it looks like it's getting a little bit better.
Right as a tumbleweed heads towards the front straight there, John.
Oh, dear. All right, Charlie Hayes across again. Let's see if he has improved that gap. Charlie's best time at 2:06.27. Next fast in PTD is J.D. Coos with a 2:02.900. So the gap has now increased another second to 10.804 from 9.628. So Charlie is starting to put some time on Charlie. Of course, Charlie Bazzetti also competing in, I think he was in the GTS race as well as he was in Spec E30.
That's right. Yeah, Bazzetti definitely.
So this is third one of the weekend.
Multiple dipper.
Well, Charlie doesn't mess around, so he's out here. Might as well get maximum enjoyment while you are out here, away from the office and all of the stress of the real world, enjoying Buttonwillow Raceway Park.
And John, you know, right as they went by last time, it looked like Justin Ross and Jean Bowles, we've been talking about them throughout this session a little bit in the PTE group. Justin Ross was only 0.3 of a second behind Jean. We've seen him get around him before. This could be another pass for position in that group. Both of those guys up several positions. Justin Ross showing is up by 2 here, but I remember from the start, Justin Ross actually started all the way in the back. So not sure what that discrepancy is about, but both of these drivers charging hard out there with lots of time left in the race. Let's see who's going to end up on top.
Schatz and Johnson through the lights again just now. Right now, Ricky Johnson just 2.6 seconds behind Dave Schatz. Last time by, Dave ran a 1:59.426 and Ricky ran a 2:0450, so that's about a second difference in lap time. But I believe Dave is now just kind of hanging on and trying to take home the win in PTB to make him even more NASA's most winningest championship. Or champion, I should say.
I mean,
right,
we might as well call him a championship at this point, John.
Dave is basically a franchise. Charlie Hayes across the line right now, getting ready to pass some lap traffic from PTE. Charlie's last lap at 2:05.16, his best so far of the race. Watching for Charlie Bazzetti now. We'll see if that gap changes from 10.8 seconds. So it is now changed up to... I'm still waiting. Enhance. Enhance. Interesting. Oh no, it wasn't that. The timing system was just fine. It's just 13.7 seconds now. So Charlie on that lap put another 3 seconds on Charlie Bazzetti.
Wow, so we have a pretty interesting battle going on here down the front straight. Now, this is totally out of class, so these guys really should not be duking it out quite so hard, but the number 16 car in Spec Z, that'd be the leader, Tom Kaminsky, and Justin Ross, who is desperately trying to make it up to the top of PTE, are duking it out there. Last time they went into Grapevine Corner, Justin Ross went ahead and made that pass on John Bowles, but the thing is, they went 3 wide down that back straightaway, and he passed the leader of our Spec Z class, Tom Kaminsky, at the same time. Now, as they came onto the front straight, Tom took that position back from him, as I'm sure a Z has a bit more torque to go down the front straight than a Miata does. But we'll have to see how that pans out, because Justin Ross very fast through the corners. We'll have to see if that sticks for the Z, or if Ross gets around him. I know Ross is really just trying to move on and catch up to Roman Weissman, to whom he has a 3-second gap from.
Schatz and Johnson through again just now. Looks like the gap has increased a little bit to 3.7 seconds. So Dave may be starting to wind it out a little bit now that we are getting right towards the 18-minute mark. So not yet halfway in this 45-minute contest. Again, these folks have been racing for 2 days, so they're a little bit tired. Here in the afternoon, finishing out our last championship race of the weekend. Time trial competitors still have another few sessions, but they may not be the greatest sessions because, again, the conditions, it looks like a pretty wicked headwind on the front straight. So not sure if we'll see a lot of time trial competitors going out, but we will update you after this race. Just had Charlie Hayes go across again. Charlie Bazzetti across now. Let's see where the gap ends up. We'll wait for the update there from the timing system to show us, but it did look like Charlie Hayes has put a little bit more time between himself and Charlie Bazzetti. JD Coos not far yet, 16 seconds now, up from 13. So JD Coos is not that far off of Charlie Bazzetti. Here we go. Looks like we have some of our GTS cars coming through right now. Going to run into a little bit, or those are the Spec E46s. They're going to run into a little bit of lap traffic. They are deep into it now, deep into the PT field.
And we saw the Saturn of Roman Weissman go by, and then 2 GTS cars followed by Justin Ross. So now looks like Justin Ross and the leader of the Spec Z class have separated themselves, thankfully, because that was a bit of unnecessary battling out there. But there are 2 GTS cars in between Justin Ross and Roman Weissman. The gap is now down to 3 seconds.
PTF, still a good battle there. I'm seeing Gary Joseph and Eli Villa are right together on the back section of the course right now. Hit it down towards off-ramp. We can take a look there to see how they come out. They will be coming up very soon into off-ramp, I believe.
And what a great battle that is in PTF. The only 2 guys in the class, and they're head
right
to head.
Together.
That's great.
Shows the formula worked. Of course, Dr. Greg Greenbaum in charge of our performance touring class, making sure that we start out with base models here of different kinds of cars. Different modifications give you different points, and you end up in a letter class based on where your base model plus points has you end up. So a very fascinating system. You can take a look, NASA Pro Racing, click on the rules button, and you can look at performance touring. Performance touring is now really matured, and it's a real tinkerer's class. So there's all kinds of different ways to build a car for performance touring. But with Greg's hard work, it all ends up equalizing out. And you can see throughout the class, there are very equal times happening.
Well, John, I've seen other classes that work that way before, and in those cases as well, you got to hand it to the guy who's writing the rules. So hats off to Dr. Greenbaum for putting that together. That is very difficult to do, and he really has done a great job, because you look at how consistent these cars are across the board.
Dave Schatz now on the back section of the course. He's over there on the rear eastern side. Looks like he is starting to open it up on Ricky Johnson. I'm guessing about a probably 6-second gap now, up from 5.3, probably closer to 7 or 8. he's really starting to turn the wick up a little bit.
Look at this, John. Down the front straight, Roman Weissman followed directly by Justin Ross. The gap has decreased substantially, now down to just 1 second. So we could see a move from Justin Ross here in the next couple of laps. I know Roman Weissman would love to take home that second podium spot, but we'll see. It just might end up being a third. We'll see how that battle goes once Justin Ross actually catches up to him. Right now, Justin Ross running a 2:05 with Roman Weissman running a 2:07. So odds are that is going to happen pretty soon, maybe even this lap.
Great battle to watch there. It looks like Johnson is about 5.5 seconds behind Schatz. But we are going to keep an eye on that battle for PTE. The podium spot, Roman Weissman right now running in P2, but Justin Ross coming on strong, trying to take it away from him and maybe go chase down Dan Howard. But Dan Howard has 12 seconds right now up to Roman Weissman, so, you know.
Yeah, 12 seconds, and currently Ross is running a second faster per lap, but if you look at their respective best times, Howard has it. So, you know, it really comes down to how much time is there left in the session, and can Ross sneak up on Howard without him realizing it and flipping that switch. We can see him across the back straight there coming into Grapevine, and Ross has not put a move on Weissman yet. Doesn't look like he's going to here, so we're going to have to let it wait another lap. No, Roman is very fast in that Saturn.
Right, we are going to be watching that battle very closely. Weissman and Ross will be coming around any time now. They were very close when they were over there on the back side. Looks like, where's Weissman? Is that Ross's car right there?
Yeah, and it looks like Ross has gotten around Weissman. Must have been in those last couple of corners. They're coming onto the front straight now. And Ross coming up on another Miata there. Looks like Ross and Weissman are going to get around it, so they're going to stay right next to each other. And look, Roman is turning up the wick now.
Oh, boy. He ain't happy about that.
Obviously not.
Dave Schatz working up. He is just behind those PTE cars. Spec Z car right next to him. You can see them trying to get by John Bowles there. Schatz now about a little less than 6 second gap back to Ricky Johnson, so pretty consistent. All right, folks, now we are about halfway, 23 minutes or so into our 45-minute contest. Final championship race of the weekend. Let's give you the full rundown of all the classes. GTS3, Andrew Morton in first, followed by Eric Johnson. Then Zung Tran in that Team Blue Dragon SLR Performance entry. Then Eddie Hilliard. Ori Gentile, the lone cowboy in GTS4, doing well. PTB, Dave Schatz, then Ricky Johnson. Anthony Lanza. Looks like John Degucci may have retired. PTC, Josh Allen, then Team Greenbaum, and Timothy Carmen.
In PTD, Charlie Hayes in the Toyo Tires Miata leading the way, followed by Charlie Bazzetti, JD Coos, Lee Papa George, Fulton Haight, and Dennis Holloway. In PTE now, Dan Howard still leads the way, 12 seconds ahead of Justin Ross in second place, followed by Roman Weissman, Jean Bowles, Ryan Altoff, Thomas Atterbury, Team KTM Racing, Paul Perkins, and in ninth place, Paul Seifert. In PTF, Gary Joseph leading Eli Villa. In Spec E46, Team BTM Motorworks leading Team Riley Racing, Team Control Engineering third, and Sean Webster in fourth place. In Spec Z, Tom Kaminsky still leads, Paul Terry in second, Richard Fitzgerald in third, and Chad Alders in fourth place.
All right, folks, Spec Z just across the line right now. All three of the top drivers there. Ricky Johnson across as well. Dave Schatz has increased his lead a little bit over Ricky Johnson. Dave running at 159.821 and Ricky at a 159.986 last time by. But the Spec Z's are right there, so they're passing them because the Z's are running anywhere from a 201 to a 204. So managing a little bit of traffic there. Still, we're watching that PTE battle. I don't know if Roman Weisman, we're looking for him around the course to see how he and Justin Ross are doing with that fist fight they had going on. Dan Howard checking out a bit. Charlie Hayes across the line right now. He's cleaning up in PTD pretty handsomely. 22 seconds ahead of Charlie Bizzetti last time, so he is definitely the class of the class. We are looking for... There's Charlie Bizzetti, so it's quite a ways back. Zung Tran just across right now. Looks like we had a car retire here. That's the number 76, I believe.
Sean Webster. He was already in the back of the Spec E46 class, but sorry to see him go out. Sean is actually a local guy from Northern California. Has run Buttonwillow quite a few times with some other track day organizations. That's where I know him from. So really nice to see him out here doing some legit club racing, but sorry to see his day ended early.
Looks like a bit of signaling going on. That may have been
here we go, John.
For Dan Howard.
We've got Dave Schatz past the checkered flag, or sorry, not the checkered flag, past the start-finish line, followed by Justin Ross and Roman Weisman. So Roman Weisman has not let Ross out of his sights. Also, talking about in-class for Dave Schatz, looked like just a few cars back there was Ricky Johnson, still on a tear. A bit more of a gap than we had before, but he's still there, up to about 7 seconds now. So not sure if he's going to be able to recover that. But, you know, John, like you said, all it takes is just one quick little thing, and the roles could be reversed.
Very true. Of course, Dan Howard is drive even more impressive. This is his rookie season out of the Great Lakes region from Columbus, Ohio. So joining us from very far away, doing a great job trying to get a shot at that Mazda shootout at the end of the year by finishing well in his Mazda Miata. Coming up on 28 minutes elapsed, so we're coming into the final 1/3 of our race here. Again, we are watching a couple different battles throughout the field. Seeing Dave Schatz now streaking through the dog leg. Looks like Ricky Johnson's quite a bit farther back. Looks like there's some PTE cars. There's that battle right now between Roman Weisman and Justin Ross that he's going to have to get through to get back in touch with Dave Schatz. Very dusty Miata down the front straight just a minute ago.
Oh, wow.
That was Paul Perkins.
That's a big cloud. Oh, and look, some guys are going off now. You know what I think happened there, John, is just a big dust cloud. They couldn't see through it, and so obviously some drivers worried there might be someone stopped.
And Eli Villa going to put a pass right there.
Whew.
For position, watch this down the outside there. There was a little bit of hesitation right there, and I think Eli Villa was going to...
Yeah, that was Eli Villa passing Gary Joseph, wasn't it?
That was.
And
so he's capitalizing a little bit there.
Yeah, I really think that Eli Joseph went off evasive there, but evading something that may not have actually been there. Again, you know, just safety's sake, going through those giant dust clouds. And look at them, 3 wide down the front straight. Roman Weisman with 2 Z cars.
Z's.
Who's going to end up off the track here? It's Roman! Oh, Roman!
Oh, that's not cool. They put him
you
off.
know, they went through there. It went from 3 wide, 2 Z's with Roman on the left, and then another car, I think it was Ricky Johnson in the Mini, came through 3 wide and passed the Z's on the inside. So a bit of an opportunistic move there.
I guess, but that's not cool to put somebody off. I understand
that was out of class.
I understand that you're doing that, but that could have been disastrous. Roman kept his head about him and kept in it. But that was pretty uncool. If he wouldn't have done that, there would have been side-to-side contact. So good heads-up driving from Roman Weisman. A little bit disappointing to see. A little bit too aggressive, in my opinion.
Would you call that out of class or no class?
Hey, I tell you, I call that no class. I tell you. Hey. Sometimes you have no class when you're out of class, I tell you. Oh, forget about it. All right, guys, we are coming down to the final minutes of our race. 30 minutes now elapsed. Current lap times are probably about 4 or 5 laps remaining in our final championship race of the weekend. Charlie Bizzetti across the line. Jiminy Christmas. Charlie Hayes has put almost half a minute between himself and Charlie Bizzetti.
That is quite the gap.
Yeah, but Charlie will still, you know, if he keeps it together, he's going to be on the podium. It'll be a 2 Charlie podium.
Double Charlies, lots of Mazdas, and 1 official Toyo Tires car.
Absolutely. And 2 Saturns. 3 Saturns, I think. Who knew? All right, folks, we'll be looking at some of these battles here, trying to find, let's see, Spec E46. That's turning into a bit of a dogfight. So right there, I think it was Team Riley Racing had Team Control Engineering 3.17 seconds behind the number 93, challenging the number 21 for that second step on the podium. So the two of them going at it pretty hard there.
Yeah, less than a second between those two, and then up to the BTM Motorworks car, 11 seconds. But, you know, I think that is a Shawhan up there, and he is ripping out there in that E46 BMW.
All right, we'll be looking for Dave Schatz. He's out there somewhere. Following that race, Charlie Hayes now coming onto the front straight. And geez, if I'm not mistaken, Charlie Bazzetti was across not too long ago, so...
Yeah, that's creeping up on a whole lap in between the two.
Wow. That's a clinic. Well done. Nice drive from Charlie Hayes. Looks like the wind has died down a little bit, not getting that big hairy amount of dust that we were earlier. That's good news. All right, but we are now, let's see, 32 seconds in. Or 32 seconds, 32 minutes. Sorry, folks, getting a little bit goofy at the end of the day.
I think they knew what you meant there, John.
We knew what I meant.
No worries. No worries.
All right, should see Dave Schatz here. I can see Ricky Johnson back there working through the grapevine down into the off-ramp. So Dave should be around any minute now. There he is. Dave Schatz now on to the front straight. We'll see how big that gap was. Last time it was 13.261 seconds. There we go. Dave's across. Where's Ricky?
There he goes. Some lap drivers giving him a nice courteous point by as he goes down the front straight. Ricky
nice
waving back at him. Thank you, boys. Look at that, 12
seconds. So we narrowed it a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Good stuff. Good stuff. We are coming to the final laps. Probably about 3 laps remaining. Looks like we have we had a waving yellow and then it went away. So another driver off.
And we got a spin out in the grapevine corner.
Ooh,
it looks like
big
a
one.
944.
Number 19.
Yeah, that's right. And you know, my apologies. Can't remember the name of that fellow off the top of my head, but that was a big old spin. Fortunately, no other cars around, so I don't think it was...
Thomas Atterbury.
Yeah, Atterbury, you know, he was a great driver in the 944 spec class. Had a bit of a trouble through the grapevine corner that time, but again, as I said, no other cars in sight, no positions lost. Nobody affected other than himself. So just going for a ride in the dust there.
Getting a little bit tired now. I'm sure end of the day he did another race earlier today. So again, 2 45-minute races is no small achievement from a physical endurance standpoint. Looks like he's recovered well. Thomas Atterbury now on to the front straight. Little dusty. Lot dusty.
Well, you know, just like when Crisette went off and had to have the inside of his windscreen wiped out. You know, you wonder with these guys how many of these guys have dust all over the inside of the window.
Another car off over there, and now he's
Whoa, big old tank slapper in the dirt there.
Don't hit the gas when you're in the dirt, homeboy. Successful
also,
recovery though, and thankfully the wind is blowing away from the track in that direction. So.
You know, also, as they were going back through the back straight there into the grapevine corner, it looked like Ricky Johnson and one of the other, sorry, not Ricky Johnson, the other Richard Fitzgerald and Paul Terry out there in the Spec Z class got into each other nose to tail a little bit on the back straight. Looked like one was getting ready to go around the other and got blocked by an out-of-class car, jumped right behind the other Spec Z and gave him a pretty good bonk from the back. Fortunately, no cars out in that scenario, but hopefully everybody's radiator is all right.
Yeah, we did see that at the Eastern States Championships where someone had damaged a radiator and an oil cooler due to an unfortunate unplanned stop on course.
And look at this, John. Now back to the battle in PTE. So Justin Ross, remember our gap was upwards of 10 seconds. I think it was around 12. Right now, 3.2 seconds from Ross to Dan Howard. Remember, Howard has a better best time, but if Justin Ross can sneak up behind him without alerting him to turn on that go juice, and hit that right foot down, Justin Ross might just take him by surprise. We're going to have to keep a close eye on Dan Howard out there as we come into the final laps of this race. It is 36 minutes a lap, so I'm assuming we're going to see a white flag any minute now. It's really going to come down to the wire. PTE, I think this is going to be the battle to watch, folks.
That's great. We're watching for PTE to come by. That's going to be a heck of a battle. Again, I think that Gary Joseph got back by Eli Villa in PTF. I did see Eli come through. Dave Schatz now putting a little bit more distance. He's carefully working his way through traffic. Doesn't want to get involved in an incident there and hand the win to Ricky Johnson. Field is looking pretty good. They're all spread out. No big dust clouds anywhere that we can see. That's good news.
John, I almost forgot all the excitement, but I'm still interested in what happened to Austin Newmark. And it looks like we got a white flag out there.
Team BTM, the Spec E46 leader, sets our white flag lap into motion. So here we go. We're going to watch that PTE battle very carefully between Dan Howard and Justin Ross. We're watching for them to come across the line, and we're going to watch to see if Ross can close the gap. 3 seconds is a lot to ask when both of their best times are so close. But then again, Howard slowed down to a 2:09, and Ross's best is a 2:05.
Yeah,
that could be traffic. We don't know.
Well, and now here they come down the front straight, so it looks like Howard is. Let's see, there are two cars. There are two cars separating the two.
And so one of them's a faster Z, and one of them's another Miata that he may get by.
Oh man, well I think if anything's going to alert Dan Howard to hit the go button, it's going to be that white flag, not even Ross. So if if Howard knows what's good for him, he'll do this last lap full out, and there will be no problem. But look at that, the gap down to almost 2 seconds.
Wow.
So you know what? Just like we were saying earlier, it could come down to just the length of race they have left, and if he's taken off 1 second a lap, boy, with one extra lap, Ross might have been able to win this. We'll see. It's still anybody's game. We've got about 8 more turns left in this race for the PTE drivers. We'll see who comes out on top.
Justin Ross is going to have to drive flat out in order to catch Dan Howard in PTE. We're hoping for that battle to shape up as we come in here. Dave Schatz again. If he manages to pull off the TT entries that he had, he was running the Firebird in PT and TT, also running his C4 Corvette in TTC. Saw Dave earlier, he said he thought he had PTB or TTB and TTC locked up. So if he gets this, he'll be, guess what, 15-time national championship.
Whew.
Gonna have to start calling him just like Reggie Jackson, Mr. October right there, Dave Schatz, with his patented move, the whole shots.
Well, this is the 3rd annual NASA Western States Championship, so we've been split into 2 for 3 years now, but this is the 11th NASA Champs, and that's our checker flag.
Checker is out now, so let's watch that PTE battle. See if we can get an eyeball on them as they come around the track.
They're right there. There's no one in between them, John. So now there is still a pretty considerable gap, but there are no other cars in between Howard and Ross. It's going to come down to these last few corners. They're heading into the off-ramp right now. And there's Howard. And there's Ross, and you can see they are pretty far from each other. And Howard looked like he got a little out of shape there, but still hanging tough.
And Dave Schatz did actually take the win there, so congratulations to him. If it all pans out, 15-time NASA national champion.
And look at this, John. Here they come down the front straight. This is less than a second. And
look at smoking.
Smoking. Wow.
And
talk about the nick of time.
One more lap, and Justin Ross would have had him because Howard is smoking heavily as he comes across the line.
Wow.
Boy, did that motor pick the right time to let go.
Whew.
Well, that's a little bit of drama there.
Excitement. Well, so then again, also Roman Weissman across the line in PTE in 3rd place, John Bull in 4th. So, oh wow, what excitement! And look at this, we've got a spin around the Grapevine corner. It looks like that was our leader. Really? That was our leader from Spec Z, if I can tell by the livery. Tom Kaminsky. Now he did have a massive gap. He had
Thomas Atterbury almost got into him as he was entering the track again. That was a Kind of a scary entry. Looks like something's wrong with the left front of that car. Am I mistaken? Or
And you know, John, I'm actually mistaken.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think that's our Z leader. If it was, though, he has a 30-second gap, so that probably would have affected. But I
don't
think
know.
Jumping to conclusions a little bit there, I believe that's a BMW, but I could be right.
wow, let's see what happened there with the Z class as they come across the line. Unclear. It looked like there was something a little bit wrong with the front end of that car that went off. Left front looked a little bit funky to me.
Well, and here he is coming around.
All right, let's take a gander. No, it looks like that was one of the BMWs.
Yeah.
That was Zhang Tran that went off.
Right.
Thought it was a Z, sorry. Didn't mean to cause any drama out there with our fans of Spec Z. So let's give you the running order. Looks
My
like we have
mistake.
now all come across. GTS3, Andrew Morton with the win. Then Eric Johnson, Zhang Tran in the Team Blue Dragon SLR performance entry. Then Ellie Hillard. Then Maury Gentile with the win in GTS4. Of course, Dave Schatz with his potentially 15-time national champion and his PTB Firebird. Nice job, Dave. Ricky Johnson never saying give up in second place on the podium there. Anthony Lanza and John DeGucci, PTC. Joshua Allen, Team Greenbaum, and then Timothy Carmen.
In PTD, Charlie Hayes taking the win in the Toyo Mazda Miata. JD Coos second place. Charlie Bazzetti in third. Lee Papa George fourth. Fulton Haight in fifth. And sixth place, Dennis Holloway. In PTE, Dan Howard with the win. Justin Ross in second place. Roman Weissman third. Jean Bowles in fourth. Followed by Ryan Altoff, Thomas Atterbury, Team KTM Racing, Paul Perkins, and Paul Seaforth. In PTF, Gary Joseph wins over Eli Villa. In Spec E46, Team BTM Motorworks wins, followed by Team Control Engineering, Team Riley Racing, and Sean Webster. In Spec Z, Tom Kaminsky maintains that win. Sorry, folks, that was my mistake on the call there. Tom Kaminsky with the win. Paul Terry in second, Chad Alders in third, and Richard Fitzgerald in fourth place.
All kinds of excitement to close out our race here, our final championship race of the weekend. We're going to take a quick break and we're going to go down and talk to our timing and scoring crew and get a little bit more knowledge in our heads about time trial and where that is going to shake out. So thanks so much for joining us here at the 2016 NASA Western States Championships presented by Toyo Tire from windy Buttonwillow Raceway Park. We'll be back in a few minutes to update you on the finals for time trial and close out our weekend.